It's amazing how the left-wing media and the Democrats are excoriating Republicans for daring to call this political and to claim that there are two standards of justice. If you remember, Hillary Clinton wiped servers, eliminated 33,000 emails, and went so far as to smash her devices that were U.S. government property. I want to take you back in time. Here's one of the campaign staffers even admitting it on CNN.
The Clinton campaign wanted this report to come out. Why? Because the FBI had an exhaustive year-long investigation. They talked to probably dozens and dozens and dozens of people, hours and hours of testimony, and the decision not to recommend prosecution for was absolutely unanimous. Was it careless? Yes. Was it a mistake? Yes. As Hillary Clinton said, I should not have done this, and if I ever had to do it again, I'd make a different decision.
But was
yes.
it criminal? No.
It was not criminal.
Okay, so she gets to smash devices with classified information on it, and oh, my bad, I won't do it again. Let me bring in my first guest, the former acting Attorney General of the United States, Matthew Whitaker. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be with my friend.
All right, so look, just give me, before we get to the nitty-gritty, give me your hot take on what we saw last night.
Well, what we saw last night was an overreach by the Department of Justice through the FBI in, kind of punishing Donald Trump once again. If it wasn't for the last 6 years of investigations and impeachments, and now January 6th, we now have another investigation, which, to your exact point, Hillary Clinton did the exact same thing that's accused here and had never any threat of prosecution. And, in this case, for some reason, they couldn't negotiate with the National Archives, and the FBI decided they would come in and do the heaviest of heavy actions, which is 30 FBI agents to secure, I guess, 30 boxes of documents. Not all of that is relevant, is my understanding, but it's a real stretch to suggest that they needed to come in there and do that last night.
Would Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray have to be the two to sign off on this? If not, would they at least have been in the room? Who would have given the final go-ahead?
Yeah, well, typically you allow the line agents to do investigations like this, but there's no doubt this was sensitive enough. This would have been, when it was opened, would have been briefed to both the AG and the director. And I'm almost certain the director, when he was testifying last week, knew this was going to happen. Merrick Garland, I'm sure, even though he could have said, this is too heavy-handed, we need to do a subpoena, or let's continue to negotiate for these alleged documents that are still in Donald Trump's possession. Merrick Garland could have changed the course of this. He didn't, for obvious reasons, because, even though they're denying it, this is so obviously political in, kind of making sure that a public investigation and that overt acts are taken in support of that public investigation so that everyone knows Donald Trump is under investigation.
Is there a difference in the view of the DOJ between classified information and the alleged presidential note? All presidents leave a letter on the Oval Office desk, that Obama left him a note, and a handwritten letter from Kim Jong-un or a Christmas card or something. Does the DOJ view them as different or equal? I mean, it's a document, it's supposed to be in the archives, that's that. Or do we go, okay, hold on a second, there's a huge difference between nuclear secrets and, Obama's letter to Trump during the transition?
That's a really smart question, and obviously there are two different categories that it appears are being investigated. One is the classified information that, remember, Donald Trump at any time during his presidency could have declassified anything. And then secondly, the presidential archives and the artifacts, I would call them, that the archives, would like. And so, my sense is it includes both. It's mixed in. I think the interesting thing, as I've thought about this and talked a lot today about it, Andrew, is that, Donald Trump didn't pack these boxes. He didn't move himself out of the White House. I would guess that he has no idea what is in those boxes and hasn't decided to, rifle through them in hoping to find, information. My sense is that they were in the basement, that they were moved from the White House, and that his staff had packed all these and just grabbed everything they possibly could, as you would expect on a chaotic transition on January 20th.
Sandy Berger stole documents related to the run-up to 9/11. Now, we don't actually know anything more than that because he took the originals from the National Archive and destroyed them. He got a $50,000 fine, which is nothing for an insider like him, 3 years probation and a revocation of his top security clearance, no jail time. What would be the benchmark should they attempt to prosecute Trump for this?
Yeah, and that was a misdemeanor. And, David Petraeus, similar category of crimes, he received probation. I can't imagine we live in a world where the new administration prosecutes the old administration for something that everyone knows is worked out between the archives and the president as to what should be or shouldn't be taken from the presidential records. And so this just seems to me to be such an overreach and such an abuse of authority by the FBI and the DOJ that we need answers. We need to see what the allegations, what crimes have been committed allegedly, and what the affidavit that swears out the factual predication for these, this seizure of documents in a Fourth Amendment, situation, that ultimately what is in those documents or what was alleged to be in those documents.
I mean, when you watch some of these legal analysts last night, I'm using air fingers quotes, talking about orange jumpsuits and perp walking, it's like, hold on a second. Again, if we're talking about real classified information that could bring down the national security of the United States versus we are watching Maggie Haberman show us images of toilets with handwritten notes. Like, come on, you don't throw a president in jail for taking home mementos. I mean, if that was the case, the Clintons raided the White House.
Right. Well, let's be careful besmirching legal experts, as I hold myself every once in a while to be one. But that being said, I think you're right, especially on the left, MSNBC and CNN. They were having a fever dream, imagining, Donald Trump once and for all being brought down by, I guess, boxes that were packed by someone else that were moved out of the White House. I mean, it's really it's farcical at this point in time. And I mean, I want to believe in the system of justice, but when they use DOJ resources and the FBI, 30 agents to execute this raid, that when they could be reducing violent crime in America, could be trying to reduce or stop human sex trafficking in our southern border, trying to prevent international terrorism after we have more than 50 foreign nationals on the terrorist watch list enter our country illegally. I just, it seems to me that this administration is out to get Donald Trump. It is, whether it's written or unwritten, President Biden wants it to happen so that he doesn't have to face him in 24.